Hi, I'm Angela Rose, and today I'm going to show you how I made a fireplace in my bedroom. So my first step for every single project is to visualize, and I use a very fancy tool to do this. It's called blue painter's tape. You can see here, I have this awkward niche, and I can't stand awkward niches. My goal is to completely fill every single awkward niche in my house with something that looks beautiful and intentional. But is it too much to ask that I just want to sit in my bed, watch some TV, listen to the crackling of some fake fire? You can add a fireplace anywhere because you can just get an electric insert where all you do is plug it into the wall. You don't need a gas line. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. Electric fireplace insert, awkward niche, here we go. So Angela, how in the heck are you going to take an awkward niche and turn it into a fireplace? I'm so glad that you asked. Here's the basic overview of how I think through something like this. So I've got this electric insert fireplace, and now that I know what my shining star is going to be of this, I'm planning out framing to go around it, drywall, which goes on top of the framing, mudding, which makes it all look like the awkward niche was never there in the first place. Why did they put it there? It took so much extra work, and now I'm going to have to spend all this extra work to get rid of it. After the mudding and making it look completely smooth, I'm going to then build my fireplace surround, which is kind of like the mantle, the pretty part, the part that makes it look like a fireplace. And then I'm going to be done. So as I'm framing, I'm thinking through everything that I know. I know the dimensions of my fireplace. I know that I'm going to want a TV. I know where my supports and my studs are in the wall. And based off of that, I'm building this skeleton for my fireplace, okay? I'm using 2x4s. I'm making a lot of trips up and down the stairs. There's gotta be a better way. And I'm screwing this framing together. The way that I'm thinking through it is make sure it's secure. How do I make sure it's secure? I'm attaching things into the walls. I'm toenailing things together. It's strong. The other thing that I'm thinking about is the fact that I need drywall to go on top of this framing. And so I need all this framing to be inset just a little bit, the thickness of that drywall, so that everything is going to look flush like it never existed at the end. So another thing that I thought of with this project is that I wanted a TV. Now I didn't know exactly where it was going to go, so what did I do? I literally just stacked up a million supports in the wall so that I could hang that sucker wherever I wanted to. More supports is better than less supports. Remember that. So before I close up the wall, I always take the opportunity to hide something in the wall, leave secret messages. I feel like projects always tie into what I'm going through at that time in my life. And I've been through a lot of rough transitions in this past year. So I wrote myself all sorts of quotes and words of encouragement. When somebody else shows up one day and tears it apart, it's going to be kind of like a little time capsule. Okay, let me give you an up close of this framing, okay? The idea is that all the drywall is going to start and end on the framing. Everything is tied into studs, tied into the walls, tied into each other. I toenailed these, nice and secure. Oh my gosh, the amount of people that lost their minds at this point thinking that the fireplace was going to be off center like I hadn't thought through it was hilarious. When you see it at the end, you're going to see that I thought about this, everything's gonna be centered, it's all gonna be okay. So the next step was drywall. Now this is kind of like playing a giant game of Tetris because I need like all these pieces to go in and fill in this gap to make it look seamless. All my drywall is going to start and end on a stud. And now when I'm going to cut my pieces, I take a straight edge, measure, line it up, and then I score down that sucker. And this is where the real fun comes, okay? Once you've scored it, you take it and you can use your knee, use whatever anger you have inside of you. This is your chance. And you can pop, like bend, snap, and break it. Yes. Yes. So now I took all my pieces, and this is where my Tetris skills came in handy. And I started screwing them all, and I started and finished each piece of drywall on a stud. I'm using drywall screws. I made sure that all of my screws are just under the surface. I'm going to show you a tip right now that all the pros use. Here's a test that drywallers do to make sure that their screws are all ready and it's ready for money. They call it the click test. When you run your blade over it, it's going to click if it's poking out too high instead of dimpled in. Listen to this. See how it clicks there? Now you know that you need to screw this in just a little bit more. so that it no longer clicks. Okay, let me show you what I always get. I walk down this aisle right here and I get the Westpac all-purpose joint compound. There's something about mudding that is super satisfying to me. It always, the first coat looks like junk. I put on the first coat and I'm always going, what the heck was I thinking? And then I put on the second coat and I go like, it's still pretty rough. And then by the third coat, it's super smooth. So that's something that I always remind myself is be patient. It's gonna take a few coats. Everything is gonna be okay. So I'm filling all of the edges with this joint compound. I'm taping the seams. Honestly, I cannot remember why I didn't tape those other seams. And then the second coat, it looks so much better. And by the third and fourth, I use wider and wider knives. It takes a lot of work and a lot of patience, but once you finish it, it's a really cool skill. So here's the part I'm not even gonna put a smile on about, is that I live in the West in Nevada and there's this dang texture on all the walls. I can't stand it. I'm spraying my own knockdown orange peel texture on this wall to try to match and mirror the other areas of my house. So to spray texture, you're basically mixing up a bunch of joint compound that's kind of watered down, and you can get different nozzles. You adjust like the amount that it's spraying out and you kind of get different techniques. And so I just played around with it and shot that joint compound on the wall, let it dry, and we're ready to prime and then paint. I saw this fireplace from one of my favorite designers and I loved it, the different dimensions in it. And so something that my brain does is it takes something that's really high-end designer and then I'm like, how do I make that in my house? What pieces make up this surround? You know, if I go into a lumber store and I'm sitting there, I'm going, okay, this is a 1x4, this is an angled piece, this one looks a little bit thicker, this one looks a little thinner. So I gathered a bunch of different widths and thicknesses and types of boards to try to figure out how to imitate the look of this surround, but in my own house. So in the garage, I laid out all these boards and I have everything measured exactly for how wide I want it to be. And this is starting to look like the surround and the mantle that I had in my head from that inspiration image. That might work. Let me give you a close up.
So here's what I got. This whole thing, like this, will be 5.5 inches deep and about 11.5 inches wide. That could be cool.
Okay, so the part for me that never gets old, the cutting and the assembling and the bad assing. How cool is this? This surround, I start taking in these pieces one by one and putting this thing together. I'm checking for level. I'm nailing and kind of tacking in to make sure. And then as things are kind of actually what I want them to look like, I'm securing them even more to each other, to the wall. And can you see this yet? Can you see how this is turning into what my vision is? It's just a bunch of boards. How cool is this?
And the moment of truth, this board's in here. This is gonna work with enough caulk and wood filler.
So the surround is built and now I need to make this look pretty. I can see what it can look like. I'm not sure if you can see what it can look like. So I'm gonna show you how to get there, okay? What really transformed this piece now is I'm gonna caulk everything, wood fill everything. I'm going to hammer in all the little nails and I'm gonna get it all prepped. So before applying my finish, I primed the surface. So here's my secret for the finish is I love a cement look finish. I love something with like depth and like earthiness and movement, you know? And I figured out this product called Roman clay that when you apply it, it looks like a cement look finish, but you can do it on your own at home. And so that's what I'm gonna do here. I painted a base coat that is the color of my Roman clay because the Roman clay is a little bit tricky to apply with the putty knife. And if it has the base coat underneath it, then it kind of blends everything and it makes it easier to apply. So then I take my Roman clay, I use a putty knife for this, and I just start applying it. And every different technique kind of yields different results. And so you can kind of play around with this, but having painted it the matching paint color as a base coat made it so much easier. The moment of truth, the peel back the tape. Does this look the way that I think it's going to? And you guys, this surround, it looks like cement. It's velvety, it's earthy, it has movement. It looks so cool. I can't believe that this used to be this awkward niche, and now it looks like this beautiful fireplace, and the surround looks like it was in one piece, but you know, I know what went into making it. I love it. And now we just got to add in this electric fireplace insert. Look how real this fire looks. I am telling you, it looks like those coals are burning on the bottom, and the fire literally is just a reflection off of this glass. I've never seen a more realistic fire, and I love that all I have to do is just plug this into my wall and push it in, and it's good to go. Boom! Yes! Woo! And every night I'm so grateful as I sit in my bed and I look at this beautiful surround, the fire in the fireplace, the TV, and I think, that used to be an awkward niche, and I'm so glad it's gone. Hope you enjoyed watching, and for more projects like this and tutorials, I'll put some down in the description below, and go check them out.